Here we are. In God we trust, all others must pay cash. This is by Gene Shepherd. It is the book that inspired A Christmas Story. What it really is Gene Shepherd was a magazine writer. He wrote articles for various magazines, humor magazines. He was a humorist, but he wrote several articles about his life growing up, and when it came time for the book, he republished a lot of those articles with just new introductions and a small little section of him revisiting his town to kind of tie everything together. This book is technically the inspiration for two movies, Christmas Story and A Christmas Story Story, the sequel to A Christmas Story that came out a couple of years ago. As somebody who isn't all that emotionally attached to the movie, and this doesn't hit that sweet nostalgia spot for me, I really enjoyed this book. Didn't think I would, but that's the beauty of a book club, is you're forced to read things that are outside of your comfort zone. Because if I'm left to my own devices, I'm reading nothing but Dashiell Hammett and old Batman comics, right? Like that's what I read for fun. But the book club, by the way it's designed, is stretches you. It intellectually forces you to read things that you wouldn't necessarily pick up on your own, and that's a good thing. Reading something outside of your comfort zone is a very good thing, because that's how new ideas are introduced to you. With that said, I really enjoyed this. Gene Shepherd. If you're new to us, we are the Bookies podcast. We are a book club podcast. We have no association with online gambling or betting whatsoever. With that said, I hope you enjoy this episode of In God We Trust, all others must pay cash. If you'd like to help support this little podcast, please go to patreon.com/DestinyComics. That's comics, COMIX. Or you can go to destinycomics.weebly.com for a direct store where you can buy books and other things directly from us. Or again, if you want to go to the Patreon, you can get bookmarks or all kinds of fun stuff. I don't want to sound like a PBS salesman, but we can't do this without you. So thank you for all your support. And again, I hope you enjoy this one. This was a fun one. And I know we're posting it. This should be our Christmas episode for this year. And we're kind of posting it out of order. But hey, it's going to be Christmas at some point, right? So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and may you have a joyous Kwanzaa. And thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the Bookies.
Laugh has been described as a chuckle.
Right.
The British guy, I know.
That one British guy. Well, there's a British teenager.
If you feel the need to read it, check it out from the library.
I don't
Support your local.
Told the parent, no, Indiana Jones.
That was my favorite one.
And we
I enjoyed that series.
Yeah, but the one I'm talking about wasn't the series. It was the movie.
Yeah, well, the third movie starts off as a
Yeah.
almost like
The Last Crusade.
Yeah, Last Crusade's almost like a cold pilot for young Indiana
We were
Jones.
just talking about the Indiana Jones movies the other day, and I was saying that The Last Crusade's my favorite.
Yeah, I like that one.
But mostly because I find a lot of the stuff with his dad hilarious.
Actually, I saw a thing today. I don't know if it was real or not. I haven't even researched it today, but there's supposed to be an Indiana Jones in the Ring of Life.
What?
Oh, it's a
It's
video
a
game.
video game.
Yeah.
First, supposedly the first.
Is it going to be on the Xbox?
I don't know.
The Ring of Life.
Instead of the Red Ring of Death, it would be the Ring of Life. Can you put that away for me, love? Okay.
I think for every Red Ring of Death, Indiana Jones movie gets a life.
All right, we are the Bookies.
Did you do it for the
Oh yeah,
soft
she's.
flowing?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, we can start again.
Yeah, we're fine.
Not the first time.
Not the first time. And it probably won't be the last, to be honest.
Right.
All right, we are the Bookies, monthly book club podcast. I'm Brandon Noel.
I'm Justin Stallard.
Bonnie Stallard.
Wayne Abraham. David McFarland.
Maylene Noel.
And this month we are reading In God We Trust, All Others Must Pay Cash by Gene Shepard. David, this was your book. You want to give a brief synopsis and why we're reading this?
It's based off of, actually the Christmas Story, the movie, is based off of this book. And I've been watching A Christmas Story movie ever since it came out in theaters back in the early 80s. And now that we're in a book club, I just figured like, hey, this would possibly be an amusing book for the holiday season. So that's the reason why I chose it.
Alright, cool. So you want to get started on some of your favorite moments?
I got pages full of it. So I'm not
Like-
sure
Well, we
if
always
you
start with
guys-
whoever suggested,
Yeah.
so it's your
Go
turn.
ahead.
Yeah. I liked how portions of the book follow the movie. I was really expecting the whole book to be based off of it, but
Well, he did write the screenplay
oh yeah.
for the movie, which, yeah, I guess.
But
yeah.
I was thinking that this book was going to be like that, but then I read up on it, and it was short stories that he did during the late 50s and early 60s for Playboy magazine.
Yeah. But even then, I kind of expected the same thing. I thought, oh, this is going to be like the book adaptation of the movie. Or
Yeah.
Right.
It has most of if you ever watch A Christmas Story where Ralphie gets his BB gun, all of that is in chapter 2.
Right?
I just went, what? That's supposed to be at the end of the story. And I like how they gave the actual reason how the dad won the lamp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you get more backstory behind the lamp, like
Yeah.
it's the company logo,
Yeah.
versus just this random leg lamp.
Yeah.
And I was kind of upset that Scott Fargus wasn't in the book, but Grover Dill was, and it was like a whole line in there. That was like basically right out of the book, and it was in the movie down to like almost down to a letter. If Dill so much as said hi to you, you felt great and warm inside, but most of the time he just punched you in the mouth. That was right out of the book, and I thought it was funny when I read that, and I remember it being in the movie.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed just the various parts of how modern life was back then. Some of it was very bleak, especially the auction where people's stuff was being auctioned
Oh,
away.
yeah.
But I like the fact how Ralphie's mom warned them. They took their best stuff and just left town and left all the crap there for the tax people, which I thought was amusing.
Right.
That's my phone.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, I like the part obviously where obviously the part where Ralphie got his BB gun. Let me see. the decoder pin was a crummy commercial, just like in the movie. I thought that was funny. The fishing in the lake, that was amusing, because like I said, I thought this was gonna be like a whole Christmas Story movie. Ended up being like basically his life. I thought, yeah, we'll get to that later. The lamp scene was hilarious. The slide down the mountain was funny when after visiting Santa Claus. It just reminded me of all the memories I had of when I very first watched this movie back when I was a kid.
I will say, if you've seen the movie and read the book, like, you can picture a lot of the scenes from the movie. Like, I know exactly what he's talking about, you know. So.
Yeah, the bad words and worrying that your mother heard it. But yeah, I remember the fireworks when the guy blew up that that firework and it went up right up his shirt. It reminded me of something similar that happened when I was a little kid with my dad, and I miss the days of going to the fireworks stand with Dad and picking out all whatever we could afford.
Did they do that in California back then?
Yeah. There was fireworks stands everywhere.
Because we had to go to Arizona to see the fireworks stands. You couldn't buy them in California when I was a kid.
Yeah, when I was little, you could get fireworks, and so
I used to go to Mexico with my dad to get fireworks.
So with Ralphie and his dad working at the fireworks stand and getting everything that was left over that didn't sell, and they got to take that home and fire it off. Oh man,
awesome.
that would be freaking awesome.
I remember fireworks when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
It was interesting because when I went to college in Orange County, and in Orange County, at least when I was in college, it was still legal for them to sell fireworks, but not in Riverside County. So there would be certain counties that had fireworks stands and other counties that didn't. But they're right by the ocean, so it's not quite as dangerous as here.
The Roman candle exploding in his shirt. That was funny. The penny candy store. I remember going to 7-Eleven when I was a kid, and you could get the Bazooka Joe gums for 3 cents.
Wow.
5 cents when I was a kid.
3 cents. I mean, you go in there with a quarter, and you're getting 7 pieces of gum. Or is that 8 by 3? 8 pieces of gum. I mean, if you went in there with $1, man, you're clearing out that basket that they used to have in 7-Eleven.
Not anymore. The zebra gums, they just declared bankruptcy. They're going out of business.
Oh, Fruit Stripe?
Yeah, Fruit Stripe's finally going out.
That's okay. I love them as a kid, but they weren't the best.
You got all of like 2 chews worth of flavor.
And then it was gone.
But I remember when we used to search through it looking for the grape gums. Always looking for the grape ones.
Kind of like the Jolly Ranchers, the black ones.
And then now or later.
Yeah, I never did anything to the family car. Like how he scraped or dented the family car. My first accident was when I worked for Gary's TV. I was using the company van and parked in the driveway of a customer picking up their TV because it was just going to be a drop off. And I backed up right into somebody's car out in the street and totaled the inside, the inside of their car. And I didn't even know what I hit. I was like, what was that? Oh, okay, I must have ran something over and drove away.
I had no idea you worked for Gary's TV.
Yeah, worked there for a couple of years.
That was an institution in this valley.
Let me see. Yeah, I backed up and hit the car in the street and left.
Oh my
God. Okay. Yes, Screeno. I mean, I liked how it must have been really different back in the during the Depression, where businesses had to come up with, I guess, like little games to attract business.
You're talking about the Screeno.
Yeah,
there's an episode
Screeno.
of
I've never heard of that before, and I thought it was kind of odd.
There's an episode of The Many Loves of Darby Gillis, all around Screeno and the theater raffles.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. Like, I could see
bank night games, Screeno. It's like, wow.
I could see enjoying that as like a teenager or a kid.
I mean, I like the part where Ralphie did the book report on that naughty book, and he didn't understand what it was, and it reminded me when I was a little kid when I used to sneak my dad's copies of Playboy magazine into my room to read the articles, of course.
Of course, because you were very
So you've already read this then?
because you were so educated.
Yeah.
Maylene and I were talking about this. Playboy at its prime was an institution. They were the first. They published Fahrenheit 451. They used to give a lot of early Stephen King was published in Playboy. Like there was more than just the girly pictures.
Yeah, but you know most people
Right, but
went for the visual articles.
Of course, as soon as I got my Playboy magazine in the mail, I went straight to the centerfold. What I thought was like wowed me was after I found out that the book is in the late 1940s. I think it's like 47 or 48, but in the book it's in the Depression. So the bank night game, someone who missed out on $1,700 because they couldn't afford the 40-cent ticket that day. I just went, oh my God, $1,700 back in the late 1920s, early 1930s, over 40 cents. I just went, oh wow, that must have sucked. I just went, oh wow. Yeah.
Back then, 40 cents was a tank of gasoline.
Well, I know, yeah.
Mhm.
And then the gravy boats.
Oh
Wow, the gravy boats. They start throwing the gravy boats in the movie theater because they were promised something else.
No wonder that poor guy can't show his face in town again.
But we'll get to that at the end. I guess we could leave that one too in there because there was two things in there that kind of made me sad. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it because I don't want to like take everything from everybody. So,
you just went through chapter by chapter. I love this. I love that. I love this. I love that.
But I didn't like go into detail. I was just doing something really quick. So yeah, go ahead, Mailing.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed the book because I like the movie, and you know how sometimes when you see the movie before the book, you know the book can be potentially different.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so you're like, okay, I'm either going to really love the book and think it's even better.
I was caught into that trap.
Yeah, or you know, so I read it. I really liked it. You know, I was like, you know, even though it wasn't exactly like the movie was, I was first of all I was impressed that they managed to do the entire movie based off of like one chapter, basically.
That's what I was shocked.
And they were like, "Oh,
hey, wait a minute, where's the rest of this
they
book going?"
Going through pretty fast. And go, "Oh, are they going to finish it by the?" And yet they finished. And I was like, "Okay, well, let's see." But you know, of course,
the only thing is the movie doesn't cover nearly as much about the bumpuses as the book does.
My book did not cover the bumpuses
they didn't
at
either.
all.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
They didn't cover them at all in the book.
All.
They're not in the book.
That's one of my negatives in there. The bumpuses weren't even in.
I didn't even realize that.
The one
They're in the Audible
did,
one.
They're in the there's they take up an entire chapter.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, we didn't get
The
them at all.
bumpuses were not in the book at all.
I'm sensing another Swiss Family Robinson.
I was kind of like, hey, where the bumpuses dogs go?
In the bit I read and did, there's this. Their neighbors, an older couple. The husband passed away, and the little old lady moved out, and so then the bumpuses rented, and they're like hillbilly redneck to the core.
Mm-hmm.
Came up from Kentucky and had the dogs, and there's this whole war between his dad and the bumpuses.
Oh my gosh.
And just about the time where the bumpuses and his dad is going to finally get the bumpuses where they deserve it, he wakes up in the middle of the night like, what's wrong? There's something wrong. They'd moved in the middle of the night without anybody noticing. And so you never did find out what he had planned for the bumpuses.
Yeah.
But it's just this whole chapter of nothing but the Bumpuses and they're the ones that did the dogs got in the house and got the ham.
Yeah.
You know,
Basically, I was expecting that from the movie.
Yeah.
Now going, man, they already did Christmas and everything. Are they going to get going out for some Chinese turkey too? And that wasn't in there either.
Well, it was a ham in the book, though.
Yeah.
It wasn't a turkey.
Yeah.
Well, when we
I was basing it off the movie because
Right.
I've seen it every Christmas
Right.
season for 30,
Yeah.
40 years. So when I read the book and I go, okay, where's the Christmas turkey at the Chinese food
What
place?
I was
Where's the
assuming
Bumpus's dogs?
was that was just made up for the movie. I thought
Yeah.
maybe they just made it up like, oh, okay, well, obviously not everything from the book is in the movie, so maybe they
Yeah.
just added that, you
It's
know.
funny because Dustin and I were talking about that today. Where the chapter the whole process of the ham took several days.
yeah,
Because you just bought a cured ham, you had to glaze it and do all this stuff yourself.
boil it because
It
they're
went through-
crusted in salt and all that, and you had to wash them and cook them.
And so we'd gone through several days of preparing the ham, and then it was finally ready, and the dogs got it.
The audio version is called A Christmas Story by Gene Shepard. It says unabridged, but it is definitely abridged. It's only the audible
It's only like
version
the 4 chapters.
Yeah.
is only 3 hours long, 3.5,
That's the thing, though.
and it's read by Dick Clark.
Mine's different. Mine is read by Hugh Grant.
Yeah, let me see what you got. Oh,
That's funny.
Mine was read by David McFarlane.
That looks like Christmas Carol. Is it the
Oh, wait.
same one?
that's not it.
Christmas Carol.
That's right.
Christmas story. Just a second. Just a second.
You seriously had me thinking we had like a true.
No, wait a minute.
So
Where's
tell me
my
what the
library?
But your key is in the title. A
It's-
Christmas Story.
It's not In
That's
God
not
We
this book.
Trust.
Yeah.
Because the Christmas story, it basically says, based off of the stories from
Mhm.
this book.
But sorry, sidetrack.
Anyway,
but I think my favorite, because I had a couple chapters that really stood out. I think one of my favorites was the fireworks
Mine is
scene.
still different. Mine is read by Dick Cavett.
Okay, Maylene, again.
Again, sorry, I was in the middle of a sentence. Sorry, it happened 3 times to me already tonight. Okay.
She's going to snap and kill one of us, and I'm the one who's closest to her.
But I love the fireworks scene because
yeah.
I don't know why the image of it going into the house had me laughing. I was like, because I picture it in my mind, like, okay, on the one hand, that poor guy, the
Just
fireworks.
going under the porch.
Yeah, going under the porch, but on the other hand, oh my gosh, it felt like a Looney Tunes cartoon, just all the things that were going wrong. And like you said, the guy's shirt at one point. I was like, this is a Looney Tunes episode,
Well, because it backfired into
yeah,
his shirt.
yeah. And oh my gosh, I laughed during that chapter. And then I also the other chapter that I really got a good laugh at was the gravy boat chapter, because
Yeah.
I was like, could you imagine 4 weeks in a row getting the same piece of cutlery
Yeah,
and
because
be
they were promised a different piece of cutlery every week to go to the movies. So all these women are thinking, "Oh wow, we're getting free dinnerware," and then they got a
Right.
gravy boat, and then the promise, "Oh, sorry, we're sorry you're getting a gravy boat again, but you'll be able to turn it in." And then week after week, it was the same gravy
it
boat.
wasn't
and
like 4 weeks in a row.
they got mad and started throwing it at the stage.
Oh my gosh, I get frustrated too, 'cause, I have 4 of these things, what am I going to do with 4 gravy boats, 4 cups, sure, but oh my gosh. So yeah, those scenes just got me just really laughing out loud. So, and then yeah, a lot of the other stuff. I liked that even though some of the things, even though the leg lamp and the commercial were in the same chapter, I like that they were their own stories.
Yeah.
And that we were able to get into them, even though they were okay, this one happened in this month and this one happened over here, so.
Yeah, I still like how because they didn't really show in the movie how he won the lamp. He just comes in,
Yeah.
I won.
Yeah. So it's
And you're
nice to know.
Well, how'd you win it?
Yeah.
So I like how they went into a little bit more detail in the book on how and what it was all about.
Yeah.
The months and months of
Yeah.
this game.
Because they make it in the movie sound like, oh, I just like maybe he answered a question or something, but no, it was like months and months of
all those hours
spending answering these questions that they had to figure out. So.
But I could totally
cutting
see,
the pictures and pasting it right. And
yeah, I could totally see why they cut out of the book or out of the movie though, because it wasn't really needed.
Yeah, I might have slowed it down.
Yeah, I mean,
but because you can do more in a
But they-
book that you can't always do in the movie.
I mean, they did say something about it, but it wasn't as nearly as long as the book.
Yeah.
About him answering questions, and his wife was saying, answering some of the questions. And
I remember like the one question they had in the movie was really obscure too. Like, what was the name of the horse or the
Lone Ranger's
nephew's horse?
Nephew's horse. Is like,
And she's like, oh, everybody knows that.
It's like, he's like, what?
I couldn't tell you. It wasn't silver. It was.
Well, who knows? It doesn't matter.
Okay, Red, your turn.
You're right. It is Dick Cavett.
Sorry.
But my favorite chapter in the book was the Miss Brayfogle in the frightening case of the speckling-throated cuckold, where he's got a crush on his English teacher. He's trying to impress her with his book report, and he finds this dirty book to do a book report on. He has no idea what, because he's like, I know that word. I know that word. And he goes into detail about how he would write his book reports of like, I'll read a chapter, or read a paragraph, and then from the book jacket I can kind of tell what the, So he does this book report on this dirty book, and you get some inserts from the book. It's very old Englishy and
Yeah, at first I thought it was going to be like Canterbury Tales or something like that, but it was some book I'd never heard of. So.
No. There's a quote, I was trying to find it. I can't remember, because at the beginning of the chapter or the end of the previous chapter, he says something about to the effect of, what happened to the old perverts? What happened to the young perverts? I guess they just become artists. And that kind of hit a little close to home.
Why, Brandon?
Talks about the first caveman drawing the first dirty picture on the cave wall. It just, as a painter, as an artist, it just hit a little close.
And then all of his stories were in Playboy.
Yeah. Well, in the first chapter, he even talks about the Abercrombie and Fitch catalog, and he says, a proto-Playboy.
I found it.
Oh, you found it?
What has happened to the old-fashioned dirty old man? Not to mention the old-fashioned dirty young man. The answer is obvious. They are now artists, destined to stand in that great pantheon that stretches back through the mists of time to Euripides, marching forward with Melville and Conrad, Chaucer and Shakespeare. It has been a long, difficult process, but we, in our time, have finally solved the old riddle of the alchemist.
Thank you.
Okay.
I couldn't, it was driving me crazy. But yeah, that whole chapter of, the dirty book, and then getting like, Ralphie, you need to stay after class.
Well, yeah,
and the teacher, like, where'd you get this book? And there's a whole, because they didn't finish the chapter, but there's a whole basically interrogation of like, where'd you get this book? And
he's lying through his teeth, and she's just seeing right through it.
I love how he's like, she's keeping me after class. She wants to talk to me.
Because he was in love with her.
Yeah. It was just as, it's hilarious.
I think at one point he tried to say like a kid on the playground gave him the book, and
Kid at the candy store.
Yeah.
If you saw this,
found it on the ground in front of the candy store. Yeah, right.
Sure he did.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, she just basically gives him, don't talk to us about this again. Yeah, go home.
Right. I honestly thought it was going to be more trouble, but when he did, I was like,
teacher realizes it's going to be more embarrassing for everybody if we drag this out. Because he's like, oh, I got it from my dad's room.
Oh, I see. It was mommy's book.
So that whole chapter was just hilarious, and I don't like the movie. The movie, for me, is too cynical for a Christmas movie. Loved the book. Absolutely had a blast with the book.
I guess you have to have a different type of sense of humor to like the movie, because I absolutely.
I know you love it. I know it's one of your favorites.
I've watched that movie every year since the movie came out in the movie theater when I very first saw it.
I'll say not necessarily, because he and I have a very similar sense of humor, and I love the movie too. It's probably one of my top 10 favorite Christmas movies. I know it's not for everybody, but it's one of mine.
But when you're talking,
I make him watch it every year.
When you're talking Christmas movies, I don't like. I do like Scrooge, but for the most part, I don't like a lot of the cynicism. Like, I'm gonna watch Ernest Saves Christmas. Like, that's it's
An Elf.
An Elf. Like, it's just a little too cynical.
I consider it to be very realistic on a typical suburban family.
Oh, it's very realistic.
Yeah,
it is. I'm not knocking it.
He wants escapism for Christmas.
Thank you,
He
Brian.
wants the happy, magical Christmas magic. He wants Christmas magic. That's not Christmas magic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the opposite of Christmas magic.
Exactly. That's why he
That's
doesn't.
called the reality Christmas. And
Yeah.
that's why
I've had enough.
I
of
prefer
the,
Christmas magic too.
I've had enough of the
He
reality.
got his
Christmas.
magic. He got his BB gun and then shot his face because it ricocheted off the metal sign.
Which it's more clear in the book than
It's
it
a
is.
little more clear in the book than the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, because the BB ricochets gets him in the versus in the movie it looks like it's the
recoil.
The recoil gets him.
I do love the oh no, I shot my eye out after all the movie.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed the book, and the thing is, the book is because short stories, but it feels like, you ever watch those Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny movies where they took several of the shorts and then animated new material to make it all flow as one story?
Oh, is that kind of like where they're interviewing Bugs Bunny?
Yes.
Like being a celebrity?
I don't recall.
The Bugs Bunny movie or Daffy Duck. That's what this book is. Like, they took several of his Playboy shorts, his stories, and then he went in and he wrote the bar stuff.
Little blurb.
Yeah.
Little blurbs
to help it blend in.
to make it one book. So it, in a lot of ways,
Lick in the bar, yeah.
the book does remind me of like structurally, I know exactly what he did because that's what they did with the Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yeah, it kind of made it flow because without those little
vignettes.
Yeah, it would just seem like, okay, these are just little short stories in the book.
Versus having this reminiscent moment with Flint at the bar and
right.
Which I think that's one reason why I liked it, because usually I'm not a short story person, or if I do read short stories, I read one, put the book away, because I like more of a continuous narrative. So
because there's no overall plot.
Yeah, exactly. And so not that there's anything wrong with short stories, but usually I'll read one, put the book away for a while. So the fact that there was that one continuous storyline of them at the bar, I was like, okay, this actually makes it a lot better for me.
There really wasn't a plot to the movie. It was basically old friends shooting the shit again and drinking beers in a bar. That's all it was. Hey, you remember this? Yeah, I remember that. You remember this? Yeah, I remember that.
I had forgotten, because it had been talked about before, and then I'd forgotten that these were all pulled from the Playboy magazine and stuff like that. And I was getting really irritated with the fact that this was like, there's the story frame and then a second story frame, and it's like every single one, and it's so formulaic, and it was driving me absolutely nuts. And I'm like, and then I remembered these were all done, it was serialized, it was all, these were all one-offs, and they're trying to make it flow even though it doesn't have a plot. So
I didn't even know that it was happening. I just assumed it was based off of the Christmas Story movie, or the other way around. I'm like, hey, this is gonna be.
But
like
I was getting really, really irritated, and then I was like, okay, I can let it go, because now that I know that it was, But yeah,
because he's taking a lot of like his articles, which are good, which are fun, and he's again restructuring it, and I can see how that would bother you.
Yeah.
But then realizing, once I came to that's right. These were all different issues. They were all different,
And who knows?
published at different times. I'm like, okay, I can be a little more great, give him a little more grace for that.
And who knows, maybe when he was writing these stories, he was in a bar with his friend Flick talking about the past.
Who knows?
You don't know.
I think it's just a device to.
Oh, I'm sure
It really is a
to
device.
make it flow, or else he wouldn't really have much of a book.
I'm sure it happened at one point, but not.
Not
Sure
all of
does.
them.
No,
Yeah.
no.
But at the same time, I think that's also kind of what I like about it, because, I mean, we've all had those times where we've gone with friends like, oh my God, remember that time when we were kids that happened? And remember that time when we were in high school and that horrible thing happened that we laughed about later? Yeah.
Because they made a sequel to the movie called
Yeah.
The Christmas Story.
Yeah, Christmas Story, Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that came out in
And-
2022.
They used some of the other material for the, mostly just him in Flint in the bar and some of that stuff for the sequel.
Yeah.
All right, Justin?
I what I did finish of the book, I had a few things that I enjoyed about it. The leg lamp was good. I enjoyed the whole bit about the bumpuses, to be honest, because I've had neighbors like that in the past, and
his book had that. So.
Yeah.
Sorry. I want to contribute, but I can't.
But the way the thing went reminded me, after listening to you guys, reminded me of Garrison Keillor's Prairie Home Companion. He has on their radio show, he does a bit called Lake Woebegone Days, and it's serialized like this, and he talks about this family or that family, and it can be funny or it can be sad, and you don't like all of them. You don't like some of them. You love some of them. You don't like. You don't. And this book, up to the point where I got, was like that. The little bitty bits in it I didn't care for, little bitty, but other bits I did like, and I'm starting to ramble. And I'm going blank.
Okay.
Bonnie, your turn. I'll probably pop in
I
here a little
liked.
bit.
I also didn't finish, but I really enjoyed the leg lamp, the whole chapter. That's my favorite part of the movie too. There's so much more in the book, so I enjoyed that. And don't do that to
You
me.
used all the glue on purpose.
Right?
In the book, that argument happens when he's naked.
Yeah.
Which is
Right, because he
hilarious.
just came out of the shower and just dropped his towel, and he's so upset.
Which is so much funnier.
It is funnier. And I liked the scene where he went fishing
Oh,
for the first time. I liked that chapter. There's a quote in here that I found. It's literally one of the only things I found funny. It's not my kind of humor, but I thought I liked this. Everyone is coated within an inch and a half of something called citronella, reputedly a mosquito repellent, but actually a sort of mosquito salad dressing. And I found that hilarious because, we've all had citronella candles and things like that. It's all supposed to keep the mosquitoes away. And he's talking about the millions of mosquitoes. I mean, he over-exaggerates a lot. All fishing stories should have some exaggeration. I think he went over the top in that particular chapter, but it was
The reason why it was
7,000 fishermen in this tiny little lake. There's no way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, 5 million mosquitoes. I know it feels that way, but it wasn't that many. Actually, I think he said 50 million. Anyway.
Well, he's recalling from a kid's point of view.
Yes,
so.
right. I'm saying there was over-exaggeration.
There was also an explanation of why he talked like that, because he used to be a DJ on a radio show. So that was before TV. So he'd have to basically probably prolong the show to get viewers, and the way he talked and the way he described everything, it was just for the radio.
yeah.
It was for the radio.
But I
because
mean,
there was no TV
fishing
at the
shows
time.
should have, all fishing stories have some exaggeration.
Of
you know.
course,
The
especially
fish was this big.
Yeah, the
no.
fish was this big.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, anyone who's going to be listening to
Yeah.
fishing, they're going to relate to the story. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But
As they're drinking
I
12 beers each.
I enjoyed the fishing chapter. I enjoyed the leg lamp.
And how Ralphie had to skin all the
Oh, I know,
all the
right?
fish and
all the neighborhood cats are all and raccoons.
I'll say I'd give him a pass on the hyperbole because I probably would have done the same thing, telling that story like. I'm not gonna 5 million, but I'm like,
No.
there were 10,000
It's
of them.
okay because it was fishing, but he exaggerates throughout
Yeah,
the
yeah.
book that I
the
kind
whole
of was
thing is exaggeration.
Yeah.
like, are you serious? Anyway, we're not talking about negatives, so
It's just the way he talks. It's
I
an
know.
exaggeration.
I'm not a fan, but that's okay. But there were some things like I enjoyed that. There was, the moment where he realized that he was the blind date.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh gosh, you're like, oh.
That's my negative because I feel bad for him.
I know that's one of my negatives as well.
I
the
didn't-
blind date.
I didn't-
I felt for him because I've been there.
Poor Ralphie.
I've been there too, buddy. It's okay.
My
Yeah,
friends
well,
never set me up with anybody.
No,
he was trying so hard to get nothing from this girl, and then he realized he's the blind date.
No one ever set up, but I was the decoy, the one that they would send their friend to flirt with, so that they could flirt with the hot friend.
Yeah.
So that I felt for him on that one. I was like, I'm sorry, I've been there too, buddy. I was the one who kept the friends busy.
Well, there was also another funny thing here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was during the parade where a guy flipped up the baton and it hit the power transformer and blew all the power out in town.
That's great.
I was trying to figure out how that would work. I really.
I honestly don't know because
Well, if the baton crossed the two poles on
Yeah.
the transformer,
Yeah.
Because those batons, I mean, we use
They were-
plastic batons now, but those were metal batons
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
They were metal,
Mm-hmm.
and it landed between a power pole that was providing electricity and the power of the above street power cable for the trolley car.
Yeah.
that would do it.
And it went landed across both those at the same
That
time.
would do it.
Okay.
I twirled with metal batons. Those are no joke.
Mm-mm.
All right,
They're
so I'll leave it
awesome,
at that
they're
just in
dope.
case somebody else has something funny.
All right,
to
Dan, go
add.
ahead.
I enjoyed the leg lamp chapter because it went into all of the detail. A, that it was a company logo. B, all of the things that he did,
Yeah, why it was a leg. Yeah.
that he had to go through to actually win it, and it was a big deal, And
And everybody thought he was going to get the cash money. All these
Yeah.
Orange
relatives and everybody.
Right.
Hey,
Remember me?
That's this.
yeah, because
yeah.
it was like
Mm-hmm.
you're winning a prize that could be part of the $17,000 jackpot,
It was a $50,000.
or $50,000,
Or other awesome prizes.
or other awesome prizes. And
It
this
was an other.
another
Just think,
awesome
though,
prize.
Just think about that amount, though. Back in the early Depression era,
Yeah.
we're talking the 1920s, 1930s.
That
Somebody
is an
winning
insane amount of money.
$50,000.
That's
Like winning
insane.
$1 million nowadays.
I mean, what would
Yeah.
You play your cards right, that could last for years.
Yep.
Back in the Depression era.
I would do wonders with $50,000 now,
Yep.
and that was almost 100 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah.
know, ow.
Yeah.
Which is why we don't get more than half of the cultural references.
Yeah. We'll get
Actually,
to that.
I got a lot of the references.
too.
We'll get to that.
All right.
Dick Tracy, Flash Gordon.
I got
Except those.
there were a number of the cultural references that I got,
I figured you would.
but
Since you're-
and
since you're
there
a
were
Taoist.
some that I didn't get, but I was able to
Understand what it was.
make educated guess
Mm-hmm.
at what they were referring to. And
Yeah, because you have to figure this book was written in 1966. That was 5 years before I was born.
Yeah.
I was 21 before I was born.
it was written 11 years after I was born, but I was born in 55, so I missed the Depression.
Right. It took place
Mm.
in an
It
era
was
that was
before
before
my
all of us.
time,
Yes.
He's writing about, the author's writing about his childhood
Right.
as a depression kid.
Whereas my depression is seasonal.
Yay. Yeah, mine comes around
So.
Christmas.
So it was, I enjoyed that one. I liked the chapter talking about the fireworks. That was lots of fun. One that struck home with me was the decoder ring
Yeah.
chapter, the orphan egg, because I remember saving up cereal box tops and sending them in and getting a decoder ring, and then the disappointment that all the stuff that you were decoding were commercials for the product that you had to send the box tops in for.
It was just garbage.
And so I could really identify with that chapter.
Drink more Ovaltine. Or buy more Ovaltine.
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
Yes.
But
Crummy commercial?
the decoder the decoder thing I remember getting, it was about, well, it seems that it's probably a little short. It was a cowboy boot, and it had a compass on top of it, so you couldn't get lost. And then the compass rotated sideways, and there was the decoder part of it, and then that opened sideways, allowing you to access the secret compartment, meaning the inside of the boot, that you could scribble a note and put in there and pass notes or whatever, and it was
Wow.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
And
I tell you, sorry.
All the crap we really love as kids, and you look at it now and go, I like that crap.
well, but one of the things he was talking, because he was talking about mailing the inner seal of the Ovaltine can in, but then there was also more when I was a kid, you got toys in the cereal boxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Captain Crunch
Real
decoder ring
toys.
came in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were actual
Also
little
with Cracker
plastic
Jack.
toys. And with Cracker Jacks, you got
Yeah.
real toys. And now
Yeah, you
for
just get
years, Cracker
cheap
Jacks has
crap
been
stickers.
Tiny little sticker.
stickers or temporary tattoos.
No, they don't
or
do that
things
anymore.
like
It's
that.
just little stickers.
In
It's
the
just junk.
90s,
Yeah.
they switched from the Cracker Jack, because I know I was there. They switched from toys for a brief time to Marvel trading cards.
Mhm.
And then they never went back to the toys after the trading cards.
They went to stupid stickers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was a
Cracker
kid, it was
Jack
a
and his
big
dog
deal
Bingo.
to get those Marvel cards.
I will say, I feel like if I hadn't seen the movie and I just read that decoder story first, that would have been, I feel, much more devastating for me to read.
Right.
Because I would like,
You knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming, but if I read it first, I'd be like, a crummy commercial. I would have been thinking, a crummy commercial? What the heck?
He talks about finding the Ovaltine can.
Right.
to
Kicking the
pour-
can.
Yep.
Kicking the
To pour
can.
to get actual Ovaltine.
They weren't Ovaltine people
Yeah.
on their block.
Yeah. But I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed the book report one because I remember it was third grade, I think it was. We had all of our names up on a board, and every time we read a book and we turned in a report to the teacher, then we got a little piece of construction paper folded in half so it looked like a book with the name of the book on it stuck after our name. And
And you
I-
had the long list of books, yeah.
And like him, I figured out I could take the book and I could read the blurbs on the cover and write a better book report than most of my
Body looks
most
so
of my
scandalized
classmates.
right now.
My dad, the fastest reader I know, a former teacher. I'm shocked and stunned.
That's when I was a third grade student.
You need to lay down for a moment, Bonnie.
I'll be okay. I think.
I don't think
But
that's
I was there, and well, ever since I was about first or second grade, we lived like a block and a half from the library, and I had my own library card. And I was going in there, and I would check out 5 books, and 2-3 days later turn those in, because 5 was all you could check out as a kid, and get 5 more. And I would go through the books rapidly like that. But you know, this was my chance to be number 1.
And you cheated.
I did.
Oh,
I cheated, and I was like 8 books ahead of everybody else, and then I got a guilty conscience, so I went back and read all of them.
Okay, I'm a little.
The son of a preacher couldn't.
Okay.
So I could identify with that chapter and a whole
Oh my gosh. Out of everyone here, you were like second to last. I would have guessed would have done that.
But he went back and read them.
I know.
I love you, Daddy.
which is a good thing I'm a rapid reader.
Oh, yeah. Did you stay ahead after that anyway?
Actually, I did.
Of course you did. You're a good reader.
But
Okay, David, we're at negatives now.
Yeah. This book was very, very wordy.
Wordy is an understatement.
It was
Yeah, I think you just exaggerated.
Yeah, it was very wordy.
Under exaggerating. Understatement is opposite of exaggeration. Yes, it was.
Dude's getting paid by the word.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And
Absolutely,
you can
because-
tell.
Yeah.
See what Dickens, you get paper a word. That's part of why.
So many long words that aren't necessary to tell your
Pulchritude.
story.
But yeah, I mean, with that, but after I read that most of these stories were also on the radio, I understood why he did it. It was kind of his version of comedy.
Yeah.
So I could,
The one thing though,
but it was very bad.
did people even know what some of these words meant back then?
No, I don't think so.
You know?
And
He's showing off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was.
college level words.
I mean, it was. I think it was mainly.
I mean, I have a
stories
wide
that
vocabulary,
were-
but there were some words I was like, what?
I think these stories were translated from, or not translated, transferred over from his radio stories.
Well, they were specifically were the ones that were printed in
Yeah.
the magazine, though.
Yeah.
So
That's true, because I do feel like there are appropriate places for big words like this, but I feel like that's usually like
he overdid it
in
in every
yeah.
single story.
Yeah.
Just taking a short story in and of itself, he overdid it in all of them.
Like these are
Too
short
much
stories.
exaggeration,
These aren't
too many-
doctoral theses, that you-
Right? Yeah, like
You know.
the wording.
I just,
Yeah, but
I
if
just
you're reading it one chapter a month with your,
chapter a month. Yeah,
with
yeah,
your
based off of
Playboy subscription, I don't think when it first came out would have been too bad.
No,
But all those words.
I think
Are
it
you
was just
gonna
the style.
Are you gonna read an article that has that many big words in it where you could be looking at the lady's boobs?
I read the comics.
Okay, see? Fair enough.
I just think it was just his
saying.
way of writing, and I just took it that way. Even though I'm like, this kind of sucks. I wish he would have wrote a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And also another thing was it was extremely outdated. I mean, the majority of the references I just didn't get. I mean, I'd say probably 75%.
Like the entertainment things, Howdy Doody and Flash Gordon and stuff like that, I got.
Yeah. The stuff that
But
was
even
familiar
like,
now.
but even like some of like the food and drink and like normal household things like cleaners and soaps and things.
Yeah.
None of like so much of that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I had no idea. If he wasn't saying that he was talking about laundry soap, I wouldn't know it was laundry soap. You know what I mean? Like
it was just. I think it's probably because of the date of this book. I mean, I'm pretty sure if this book was written 66 and we're in 1967, we'd understand it.
Right.
But this book is pushing 60 years old.
and the time frame it was written for is almost 100 years. So
there's one paragraph I remember talking about the book, review, whatever, talking about the big words he was using. There's this one part where he says, "What is a book review but merely an overblown book report? And we all half suspect that, like our book reports of our dim past, the book reviewers rarely bother actually to read the books." And right here is where it starts to get wordy for me. "We instinctively admire their suave fakery, their artful dodging, their extensive self-congratulatory phraseology, their mellifluous padding." I'm like, that feels like mellifluous padding, if you ask me.
Seriously.
Sorry,
yes.
That reminded me of that sentence. So
yes.
Yeah, but another thing I didn't really like about it was the Bumpus's dogs were not in my book.
Yeah.
Not at all.
You'll have to listen to Justin's, I guess.
Yeah.
At least that chapter.
And then one thing that made me sad was that Schwartz died in the war.
Yeah,
he died.
That kind of caught me off.
Yeah, he went MIA flying his plane over in Italy somewhere.
Gosh.
So I don't think he would have. I don't think Gene Shepard would have made up a story like that. I think it was probably real.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, the dropping the platter when the lady was holding on to it. It was definitely very, very wordy and very out of date. There was that one part where he was talking about like modern art. I just went, "Oh my God!"
Pop art was. He was trying to get the girl. He was trying to get in her pants.
It was just. It was absolutely. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is horrible!" But I could see it with it being the '60s and the hippie culture.
And the funny thing is that was the starter to the leg lamp chapter, which we all loved so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because that was the.
And I followed all that.
I followed it too. Well, I had hoped so, studying art so much and art history, but yeah, he was trying to sound so good and yeah.
But the one thing that I didn't like at all, and it kind of made me a little bit upset, was how they used to do taxes back then, wherein a tax assessor would come to your house and basically charge you tax based off of your possessions that you already have, that you already bought. So they're going to be looking at you. "Oh wow, you're rich because you got that new table."
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
well, what if it was a gift?
They don't care.
No.
It wasn't on your assessor list last year, so now you're getting taxed on it.
Yeah.
So you see all these people hiding all their possessions, so the tax assessor couldn't tax you on it, and then the dude was searching your freaking house. It's like, holy crap! Total violation of your
privacy.
Fourth Amendment
right there of search and seizure just to try to get some money out of you. And then on top of it, it was most likely one of your neighborhood people that were doing the tax assessing on you.
Right.
Basically throwing you under the bus.
What if they didn't like you?
I know.
To start with,
And they're going to remember, "Oh yeah, I remember you got this, I remember you got that," and throw you under the bus.
Yeah.
And then I just thought it was also sad that even though Ralphie told the neighbor that, "Oh hey, the tax assessors are coming," it's just the thought that they had to run away in the middle of the night to avoid that in the first place.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought it was sad. I mean, to the point where they're leaving some stuff behind just to make it look like they weren't home and then the assessors were getting something. But I would hate to be those sheriffs and deputies back then, because they had to enforce that. They had to basically ruin somebody's life over money.
Yeah.
And I tried to look up like when did they stop that, but I really couldn't find any references. And it reminds me of like old movies in the 30s where people are coming to the auctions.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, down to the point where they're auctioning the family Bible off.
That's just like that feels
That's
petty.
pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's why I'm kind of glad that bankruptcy court does exist, because at least you I mean, yeah, it's embarrassing that you don't have any money and you have to start over, but at least you're gonna have your dignity with your family heirlooms instead of selling it to some stranger for 30 cents
Yeah.
just to pay for a freaking bill.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than what I said, that's basically the only thing I really didn't like about the book.
Mhm.
It was definitely outdated, very outdated. I wasn't expecting that.
I didn't really have too many negatives. I mean, the out of date didn't really bother me so much, but that's only because like I read a lot of period pieces anyway. You know,
Yeah.
books from the 1800s. So the out of date.
Right, but some of the period pieces stuff I get, some of the references here I didn't understand.
That's
I
true.
mean, I really want to understand the book.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
It's okay. Like some of it, you know, even the stuff that I didn't completely understand, I was able to, I think, infer most of it from context, even if there was still some that kind of slipped by me as far as
Yeah,
understanding.
most of it was I couldn't figure
You
out.
know.
That was the 25%.
Yeah, right. But I don't know. I think, with the exception of the lengthy like language, and the only things that I didn't care for were things that mostly just made me sad. Like, Schwartz died. Oh,
Yeah.
that's sad.
I was like, whoa, that
Yeah, no, I mean,
hit home. Because I like Schwartz.
yeah, it happened, but at the same time, it's like, oh, you know, this is my fiction.
He was the one with the language. Listen, smart ass.
Right? You know, so yeah, it's not so much that I hated anything particularly, just, you know, like, or like when I found out, oh no, Ralphie was the, you know, the decoy on the
Yeah.
date, you know, like,
Oh.
And
oh.
you didn't realize it
He
until
was
the
the
end.
blind date.
Oh!
It's like, oh, high school flashbacks. It's like, that was my Vietnam, you know. But yeah, I think I had just way more likes than I had dislikes. So I think the only thing that caught me was, you know, because I was reading it in large chunks. So I was reading I think I was trying to read 50 pages a day, and so the excessive word just got tedious after a while. I'm like, okay, I need to put this down for a while, you know.
I actually blazed right through it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I sat in Del Taco and was just reading it and going up and getting a free soda refill and heading back to my seat because I was the only one in there for hours on end. And before I knew it, well, the book's gone. And then I'm going, where's the Bumpus' dogs?
They never showed up.
I was like, where'd they go?
I think. Oh, you know what? That is one thing. It's like I wish that if you're gonna have the Bumpus' dogs in there, have them in every version.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
then
Yeah.
the Chinese turkey where
Right.
where they were making fun of the Chinese people of their accent.
Only reason why I'm okay with that is because I guess it just sounds like it wasn't in every, you know.
I don't know.
So-
it was just I was
But the sounds of
disappointed
it
on that
anyway.
one.
But anyway, go ahead.
There's a quote from Dave Stevens, the creator of The Rocketeer, who said, "I was nostalgia from my grandparents' childhood."
Oh, I get nostalgic for it.
Yeah, and this kind of, you know, like I really liked the book. Like, I don't really have much to complain about here. It hits a lot of notes that I like, the early Americana, anytime you have a text that name checks Little Orphan Annie, Dick Tracy, Flash Gordon, all that stuff. That's, I love all that
Black
stuff.
Bart.
Black Bart. I'm not a big Western guy, so some of the Westerns was lost on me. But not liking the movie, really enjoyed the book. That's basically, my only complaint is, the text can be a little wordy, but also if it's the magazine, he's getting paid per word.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And Playboy paid better than any other magazine publisher at the time. Stephen King talked about, whereas most magazines would pay you $400 for a article or something of substance, Playboy would usually pay like $2,000 to $3,000.
Oh wow.
So Playboy did paint more than at least according to Stephen King's On Writing book. But yeah, I liked it. It's a collection of nostalgia that it's not my nostalgia, it's my grandparents' nostalgia.
No, most definitely. I'm sure if my grandma was still alive, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that." Probably my dad too, maybe.
And talking about the Christmas store window with Amos and Andy and all that kind of stuff.
I remember growing up. Westmoreland, where I lived, was a tiny town, but we would drive 7 miles to Brawley, and they had the Woolworths and some of the other stores, and the stores all decorated their windows for Christmas, and that was a thing that you did. You would go drive over there and walk down the downtown area and look at all the decorated windows of all the stores.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you first go into Disneyland.
Oh yeah.
And there's that circle drive, and then there's that big store on your left, and it will have
It's all the different
dioramas in it,
moving figures
and
and
they're
stuff.
and they've got little
Little
strings and
animatronics
motors
and
and stuff,
stuff,
so
yeah.
that they have action to them. That's the way the Christmas windows were decorated, so that they had the same type of thing, and so they were little scenes that had moving parts to it, and that was a big part of Christmas when I was a kid, was going and looking at the store windows and the decorations that they did.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, my only complaint is TNT doesn't need to run this 24 hours on Christmas Day.
Watch
sit there and watch every episode.
I'll watch it every year. I'll just let it go on repeat all day.
You don't need to watch it for 24 hours straight.
Why not? It's Christmas.
It's TNT. Come on, TNT. That's probably my only complaint.
But TNT is the best network for all those fireworks.
But that complaint is not about the book, that's about the movie.
I know. That's all I got.
Okay.
So
Justin,
there's
it's your
nothing
turn.
bad about the book.
I loved it.
So I was doing a little bit of research just now, and the book was originally written in '66, but they did a reprint,
Yes, they did. There was
Of-
a reprint.
4 or 5 chapters in the 1990s.
Yeah.
So the Audible version's the reprint.
So the Audible version that we read is
The reprint.
the unabridged
90s.
90s reprint,
or
yes.
early 2000 redo.
Reprint,
Maybe-
which apparently has the dogs that you wanted.
Yeah, because
With a
I
ham,
was
it's
also
not a
looking
turkey,
for.
it's a ham.
I was trying to find the chapter with the dogs, and I can't find any mention of the Bumpuses.
Not
Not in this
Yeah.
book.
But in the
But in the
version,
Audible version that I have,
Remember, the Audible version is called The Complete Christmas
but
Story.
when we looked up the Audible version of this book, that is the only thing that showed up.
Oh, I understand.
When
Yeah.
you typed in that
But
title.
apparently, there's a different. They added a chapter for
They
that
added a chapter
1990s
for the
edition that
new
our Audible
edition.
version is based on.
Yeah.
So,
So,
And they took that from the movie.
and they
That
yeah.
Gene
well, he
Shepard
wrote it. He
yeah.
still wrote
for
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so it's. I enjoyed the chapter, but that kind of irks me at the moment. That
It wasn't in the book.
That wasn't in
There's
the real
no,
book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
no consistency.
I didn't finish the Audible version because
So you missed it.
when I started the Audible version, I was like, I was talking to Millie. I said, "This says it's unabridged, but this doesn't feel like it's."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, where does it start? And he tells me, I go, oh, you missed him going home to the bar because I think it starts with
Because it
the-
starts with him in the
Barney
automatic.
started talking about. Was it you that mentioned the bar? And I'm like, bar? What bar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go home to the.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
And I'm like, but it's right here. This is where it starts.
And her chapter 3 or 4 was different than the chapter I was doing.
I'm like,
I was like, okay, I got something completely different.
Mhm.
Yep. It's not quite as bad as Swiss Family Robinson.
No.
Or my version of the of the Martian, where all my words were no bad words in it.
Oh,
That's right. You got the
school
Which took so much of the fun out of that.
I know there was a lot of bad words in it. And of course, it was David's copy that didn't have profanity.
And all of us, he's
All
the
right.
one who censored.
But like everybody else, you know, you guys are mentioning, you know, the big words and the wordy words, and I understand that he was writing at the time to be, you know, they're getting paid by the word, and
Right, and I get that.
and
But
it just,
dang.
but it's like, oh my goodness, some of those things is like you could have said that in half the words.
I feel
Right.
like,
But not everyone's a Hemingway.
I
Sorry,
know.
didn't mean to
I
cut you off.
And be
understand
getting
that.
half his paycheck.
Well, he could have added more to the story.
I feel like a lot of this comes off better in the movie. Because I feel like when you're hearing it, it's not as bad.
I have to admit, the audible version I was listening to, having it being read to you, is not nearly as bad.
Yeah, I feel like it's not as annoying if someone else, like, you're hearing it, like, especially with someone's voice, like, you hear in the movie. That was Gene Shepard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone like with that kind of voice, it doesn't feel as, I don't want to say painful, but, like, it doesn't tax your brain as much
Right.
as when you're having to read it, like, in the book, you know?
Yeah. Oh, did you have more? Okay. So, the thing that I found annoying was the double frame. Because you've got the framework of which is why they try to connect everything of him talking and reminiscing with his buddy. But then he'd also always start with a story from the big city
Yeah.
that led into and I get the reprinting, but they could have got rid of the big city stories and just been reminiscing, or just like it just
Gone in and cut out the big city part, and then
right. They weren't necessary. That was what he used for the Playboy things, but to weave it together, you didn't need the second frame. You didn't need that added, like just to make it. It didn't. It got repetitive.
there's a start and stop.
Yes, and I just got really irritated with that, and I got very, very irritated, and then decided I'd give him a little bit of grace because it was trying to piece together all these articles. At the same time, every single story was so formulaic. Like you could figure out after you've read one chapter, after you've read 3 chapters, every chapter is going to feel the same. It's a different story. There's a different twist on the humor. One, his humor is not really my humor. Most of it, it's a little more misogynistic, and they were written for Playboy, so they were written for dudes. I get it.
The technical genre is called men's fiction.
Yeah, it's and so it's
It's
not.
noticeable.
So it's it's noticeable. It's not my cup
I'm
of
sorry,
tea.
but as one of 2 women in this group,
It's noticeable. So I
Definitely.
there's a lot of things I didn't appreciate.
Especially his wording on faggots and homosexuals.
Yeah.
I just went, whoa,
Yeah,
that's
he's
wording
got-
there.
he-
That's not politically correct.
No.
That's something you chose to
it's
say.
not.
That's dated.
Oh, that's very dated.
And then we talked about the stuff that's dated, but it just and it was like, okay, so this is something like this is gonna happen, then something like this, and something like this, and something like this, and then we're gonna move on to the next little vignette, and so we got all these big words, we've got this same gimmicks that he uses over and over again, and after a while, it's just like, oh, okay, I can read more. Like, oh yay, the leg lamp chapter. I was looking forward to that. Oh, that was fun. I enjoyed that. But there was not. I didn't laugh at any point. Did I go? No. His humor is not my humor. I appreciated every now and again a word or phrase. Not generally a word. Most of his words were removed, but a phrase or two every now and again were good. But his writing style, the way he does it, it's just not my thing. So, yeah, it's not my thing. Yeah.
I'd have to admit that I had problems with it as well.
Okay.
'Cause I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, and I also prefer a plot for a whole thing, like overall plot. So but I mean,
2 guys reminiscing. In a
I
bar.
know, just
Well, that's
shit.
the movie. When he rewrites it, you can tell he knew enough for the movie to
move things around and give it a
restructure
whole.
around.
Right, yeah, like,
make the
you know,
gun run through the
yes,
whole thing.
like I said to David, I'm like, what the heck? He already got the gun. Christmas already happened. What the heck's the point of the rest of this book?
I know, that's why I'm going, hey, man, the movie's over in chapter 2.
But that could show progress on his part. Like, okay,
Yes, at least he fixed it, because otherwise the movie would have really sucked.
he didn't
Yeah,
try
that
to
would've been bad.
redo
Yeah.
the book as it was written, which sometimes I feel like you can't do the book as it is written. Like, for example, what was the book? Ready Player One.
Oh.
I could see why.
When they made changes that they made. Yeah.
As
Actually, I
much
totally enjoy the movie.
As much as I prefer the book over the movie, I understand why they made some of the changes that they made, because
Right.
who wants to sit there and watch someone on a video game visually as a movie?
Apparently, everybody on Twitch.
No,
Right.
Regardless.
Well, yeah, but yes, you know, they were things we appreciated about
Don't get
the
me
book more
wrong.
than the movie.
I
You know,
love
get
the
it.
book way more than I love Ready Player One the movie, but that's just because.
I also like the movie, and I saw the movie first, and so I can give a little forgiveness there. But yeah, the book. I mean, the book was better.
Yeah, the book was definitely.
Yeah, it was good. But okay, I think I'm done complaining about this one. How about you?
I haven't started.
No, I mean, it's your turn. What would you like to complain about?
Sorry, Ronnie, he's not done yet.
This book was a real slog for me.
Oh, yeah.
The most I could sit down and read was 2, maybe 3 chapters
At a time. Yeah.
at a time, and then my brain would not absorb anymore. I had to set the book down and do something different for 10-15 minutes
Before you can get back
before I could get back to it.
And usually, at least one of those chapters is like 1 or 2 pages when they're at the bar.
Yeah.
You know, and so
It was
something about his writing style. I just
had a hard time with.
I had a hard time with. I really did.
Yep.
And you know, it was.
And usually
know?
the book's better than the movie. I really wanted to like the book, David.
Like I said, I didn't expect it to be like this.
I know.
I would rather go back and reread Maze Runner. That one was less troublesome of a read than this was.
Wow. Mark the date and time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just...
Was it the start and stop? Did that just throw you too, or
Stop writing style is.
It's just
hard.
the overall writing style. I couldn't get into it. So it's like I spent the last 2 days trying to get this finished, sitting in Panera, because they had a nice comfortable bench seat, and
Can fill up his caffeine.
one of these days we're gonna get a sponsor.
Brought to you by Panera Bread.
I'm emailing people. But
so
Brought to you by Del Taco.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, for all those listening, we judge our basis off of good or bad off of the Maze Runner.
You haven't listened to the Maze Runner podcast.
Just in case you aren't sure.
it has
do
high
so.
numbers because I think every once in a while we bring it up and people go back and
I'm
like,
like,
how
what
bad
was
was
wrong
it?
with Maze Runner?
we score everything on a scale of Maze Runner to 10.
Yeah, right? Okay, so
thereabouts. Yeah.
for Wayne, your new judgment is in God we trust, always pay cash to 10. Maze Runner at a 0.5.
Yeah. But like I did say earlier, there were some parts of it that I enjoyed. I found the tax assessor chapter very depressing.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
That was just disturbing. Now that was, you know, a historical look at the way things were done back then at that period of time. But that doesn't make it any less depressing.
No, I mean, could you imagine? Oh, great! Brad and I have to now come into Bonnie's house and say, "Okay, we're going to assess everything in your house," and that's not going to kill that friendship at all, is it?
No, not at all.
Are you going to make it out of the house?
Right? What? We haven't seen Maylene. I don't know.
Is she part
Ever
of
since she took that assessor's job.
She said she was coming over, but she never got here.
And it's like I own things that are sentimental value, but financially are shit. So
Right.
for somebody else to come in and evaluate my stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just wondering when that ended.
I don't know.
It's probably when Social Security came in.
Maybe, I don't know.
Back in the 1930s, I'm thinking.
Maybe.
All right.
But anyways.
Yeah. Anything else? Any added thoughts? Any?
Besides me having a little bit of trouble reading the book, I did not expect the book to be this way, and I'm very sorry for that.
It's okay.
I gave the book a
I tried,
6.5 out of 10.
That's actually pretty low for one of your ratings,
Yeah.
especially for a book you
for a book
selected.
that-
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely.
We all have one.
We all have at least
Oh, yeah.
one.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the book more than the movie.
I love the movie.
I will say I enjoyed it a lot.
No, I'd rather watch the movie.
I think I'd rather watch the movie as well.
I absolutely would rather watch the movie.
Not to disparage the book at all, but I would give it probably either a 6.5 or a 7 because it's like, most of it was just because there were also moments of, okay, this is rough to get through this story. I didn't particularly care for this story, but I feel like it was well balanced with stories like the Lake Lamp story, where I was like, or the fireworks story where I laughed a lot. So,
Yeah, I think 6.5 is fair.
Justin, final thoughts, score of the book.
I would.
Dave's gonna.
No, because
I didn't draw from
that's right.
Just keep it score.
I would say about a 6.5.
Oh, I'd give it like a 4 or 5 myself.
For me,
but-
I don't love it. I don't hate it. It just is.
A neutral.
Yeah.
Neutral, yeah.
I
'Cause
didn't
the
care for
worst
it. There were
feeling-
some things I liked, but overall I didn't care for it. All right.
So you don't like the movie and you don't like the book.
I'd much rather watch the movie. There are parts that I like. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah. But I remember you saying you didn't like the book, and now you remember the movie, and now you don't like the book and the movie.
The first time when I was a kid, the first time I watched the movie, I thought it was terrible. It's grown on me a little bit. There are things that I find funny about the movie, but it's still like if I had a choice between it and another Christmas movie, I generally usually pick the other one.
The movie's too cynical for me.
It's not my movie. It's not my Christmas magic. It's not my happy Christmas.
To this day, Brad and I do quote it more often than you think, because I think one of the ones we say more often is when someone curses, we always say, but I didn't say fudge.
I said the F,
Yeah.
the dash word.
Yeah. All right. You already said you'd rather read Maze Runner again.
I would probably rate it at a 4.
Oh,
Maybe
so-
a 4.5.
I know.
at the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Okay, let's see what the
That's in God we trust. All others pay cash.
Any final thoughts before you draw?
I like the part that was his quote inside his bar.
Yeah.
It was a sign in his bar that said that.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been in bars that had that sign.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think I've seen it somewhere too, but I don't remember where.
The Magnolia Room up in Coulterville, California.
Ready?
All right, next
All right,
book.
Maylene, what's the next book?
Let's see what it is. Ooh, Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero, suggested by Wayne Abraham.
Yep.
Is that Scooby-Doo book?
Yep.
Yes.
Wayne got me a copy, but I was in the middle of a Scooby-Doo project of my own, so I didn't read it because I didn't want to be influenced.
Well, now you
Right.
gotta read it.
I got you a copy.
Yep,
And
you
I
bought me.
have your copy.
You have my copy.
All right,
on
so
the
that's
book.
the next book.
I'll have to buy a copy.
Meddling Kids.
By who's the author again?
Edgar Cantero.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
So that was In God We Trust, All Others Must Pay Cash.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Well, there you had it. In God We Trust, All Others Must Pay Cash by Gene Shepard. Next up is Meddling Kids by Edgar Quintero. We're going to get into the episode, but I have mixed feelings about this book because a year prior I had done a Kickstarter called Those Meddling Kids. And as somebody who's written and done his own Scooby-Doo parody, I'm a little harsh on Edgar Quintero's take on an adult contemporary Scooby-Doo. For all intents and purposes, that's what it is. It is him mashing up Scooby-Doo with H.P. Lovecraft and horror mythos. Edgar Quintero had the idea. He wrote it as a novel. I had a different idea for a different Scooby-Doo parody that I produced as a graphic novel miniseries. So, with that said, Meddling Kids is awfully close to Those Meddling Kids. But I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. Meddling Kids by Edgar Quintero. Next episode. See you guys next time. Same book channel, same book time.